Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me today at the City Shell building located on William White in the Industrial Park. For the last several months, I have been asked to comment on the city's relationship with Petco and what has transpired over the last year. Today I am going to tell you a story about the breakdown of the relationship between the city and Petco. A tale of two cities, Pueblo's past and Pueblo's future. A true tell it to the chieftain piece, if only we could still do that. Over the last 2 years in my mayoral role, I have been wondering the same thing as the citizens of Pueblo. Why are we not growing? Where is our economic stability? How do we attract businesses that are going elsewhere to our neighboring communities? To better understand this situation, I reviewed the city's partnerships with the Pueblo Urban Renewal Authority and Petco, focusing specifically on the return of our investment and the oversight of taxpayer dollars. Some have referred to this as tightening my grip or being the hammer. As part of this review, it became clear that the city has not historically exercised adequate oversight over Petco, despite the city contributing over $250,000 annually paid by your tax dollars. When I took office, I implemented new reporting requirements for all entities receiving city funds. Most complied, Petco did not. This is where the story begins. In my role as mayor, I served as an ex officio on the Petco board, being able to attend Petco board meetings without having a vote. After attending the board meetings and examining financial documents that were being voted on, I found inconsistencies between the materials they provided to the city and those approved and provided to the Petco board. Last May, I brought this to the attention of the board and put them on notice that the city was going to be requiring all documentation on how the city's funds have been spent in relation to primary job attraction. They could not explain to my satisfaction the discrepancies, and the city has refused to pay them their monthly allocation of $29,000 since. Despite 11 formal requests, the city has still not received a clear account of how our funds were spent when attracting primary jobs, contrary to the requirements outlined in their contract. In fact, the Petco board sent a letter stating they were not going to provide that information to the city of how your dollars have been spent. This is not what I would expect of a partner of the city who receives an extraordinary amount of city funds each year. The city has not seen audited financials since 2023, even though this was a requirement of the contract. One of the documents provided with the submitted 2023 return was an overview of 2023 expenditures, which demonstrated to the city that the funds they received had been spent on salaries. Yet, according to Petco's official Facebook page, Petco publicly stated on September 30th, 2025, that half-cent sales tax dollars are used only for marketing Pueblo and expenses related to the Business and Technology Center, and that no funds are used for operations or payroll. While those dollars do indeed belong to the people of Pueblo, this statement underscores the need for transparency and compliance with our reporting expectations. I have otherwise, city money has been going to pay salaries when it should be going to advertise and market Pueblo. I have requested multiple times for Petco to disclose where and how they are marketing the city of Pueblo. The marketing that Petco has shown is with our local news channels, with no out-of-state marketing or advertising outside of Southern Colorado. Where are the new jobs and where are the businesses supposed to come from if they're only advertising in our own backyard? They're only advertising about existing companies or Pueblo's past instead of the sites that are available, highlighting our available workforce and partnerships with CSU Pueblo and PCC. The marketing should highlight our amenities, our school districts, availability of water, or lower cost of living, all the things that Pueblo has to offer. Petco is supposed to be bringing the limelight to our community to attract new jobs, businesses, and amenities for our community. How do we know if their strategy is effective? How do we justify $350,000 per year expense when we cannot have open discussion about the prospects and projects coming to Pueblo? We don't, and it's designed to be that way, to keep it discreet. That was Pueblo's past. Additionally, more than $8 million in incentive-related obligations were written off over the past decade with no formal collection process. This approach will not continue. Going forward, incentives will be paid after job commitments are met. I'm here today delivering my comments at the famous Shell building. This building cost the taxpayers $6.1 million 3 years ago. Behind me, you can see a shipping container that holds the equipment left behind by IndieDwell, another not-so-stellar company brought by Petco that left in the middle of the night, owing the city over $900,000, with no way for the city to recover its investment on this bad deal. This is over $7 million of your taxpayers hidden in the shell building, out of sight, out of mind. There is no actual plan for this shell property. We only hope a business will think about relocating here, needing 70,000 square feet of shell. This was Pueblo's past. The city wants to encourage development, but needs to do so intelligently and not with the deterrent of the taxpayers. During the same financial review, I also discovered that some employers receiving incentives orchestrated through Petco did not meet job requirements outlined in their agreements. In one case, a company owed the city $1.3 million. I was told by Petco to let sleeping dogs lie, and questioned on why I was going after a company to pay the city back the money that was owed. Your money that you invested. After initial resistance, the city recovered the full amount. This is part of ensuring accountability for taxpayer-funded incentives. This is Pueblo's future. The deceptive nature of not being able to talk openly to the community about upcoming projects or interested prospects is part of the game. How do you measure something you can't talk about publicly? How do we know Petco is doing what they tell us they're doing? We don't, and they want to keep it that way. As the oldest member of Petco stated on February 23rd at a public meeting, they had so many people driving us crazy to find out what we were up to. We started the Saturn rumor so we could get everybody off our tails and let us get back to work. This is not how deals should be done because of public pressure or because this is the way it's always been done. Petco's contract with the city was terminated on December 31st, 2025, and now Petco has made a call to action to publicly pressure the city council to support an agreement that has not been properly vetted. We are required to do our due diligence with your hard-earned taxpayer dollars, which means making the best decisions we can for the entire community, which means having conversations with all parties involved, which means being involved in the incentive conversations from day one. This is our commitment to you, even if Petco is unwilling to comply with transparency. This was Pueblo's past. The Petco contract requires that all economic development incentive applications be filed with the city manager, now the mayor's office. During my tenure as a city council representative on the Petco board, I was under the impression that major decisions were made elsewhere. As mayor, I did not receive a single application or meet with a single prospect during my first year, despite the ordinance designating the mayor's office as the first point of review for these applications. How else is the city supposed to have oversight of your tax dollars if you're not approached until the final hour? Ultimately, every single approval for half-cent sales tax incentives must come through Pueblo City Council. So why would the city not be included from the very beginning when it's our money to approve? 4 prospective development projects have been submitted since, including 2 that came after the city terminated our contract with Petco in January. Navigating the Petco contract, or shall I say what was, has been eye-opening to how the process has been done year after year. Over the last several months, we have seen Petco submit RFPs on behalf of the city, binding and committing the city to incentives that the city has not agreed to. As mayor, I negotiate on behalf of the city, and city council approves all funding allocated. This is stated in the contract as something Petco cannot do, and now the city is having to rescue a deal to try to keep prospects alive for promises we never even knew existed to begin with. This is Pueblo's past. Petco owns a building called the Business Technology Center, or BTC, where their offices are located downtown, along with the Business Incubator Center, which leases office space to the newly formed business enterprises. The BTC building was deeded to Petco by the city in 1980s for free under the condition that a portion of the profits generated by the building would be returned to the city. Petco reports that 94% of the building is occupied, with operating expenses around $200,000, largely covered by rental revenue. Yet Petco has repeatedly requested substantial annual subsidies from the city, most recently $155,000 in 2025. A review of this property deed revealed the provision that requires Petco to remit 25% of the profits generated to the city, or to return the property to the city if it does not comply. This clause has never been enforced. This, too, reflects past practices that must change. This was Pueblo's past. I do not disagree that years ago, Petco initially produced amazing results, saving a community in disarray. However, the results over the last 10 years has not been as successful. We have not been keeping up with the times or growing our economy, transparency, or accountability. Our overall growth in comparison to surrounding communities remains stagnant, and it leaves city leadership scratching heads and raising eyebrows. This is a pay-to-play kind of deal, yet only the citizens have been the ones paying. But where do you get to say when you've seen your tax dollars spent? You, the community of Pueblo, is taxed with little or no tangible progress, at least for the last decade. What we have instead are numerous properties the city has had to acquire because of deals gone wrong. We pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to maintain these properties. This is Pueblo's past. So today, I'm here before you to ask, are you ready for Pueblo's future? Are you ready for change? As your mayor, I have repeatedly shown my willingness to be transparent and to advocate for our community. While you, the citizens, may not approve of every single decision I make as mayor, I make those decisions publicly and I remain transparent with your tax dollars. This is Pueblo's future. A future where we compete with our neighboring communities, neighboring states, and offer you, the citizens, deserve. Instead of seeing projects stalled on Pueblo Boulevard, permits held up, long-promised contracts being negotiated, instead we look to bring you tangible results. Not just for big businesses, but for the local businesses who want to expand, for the long-standing traditions that need to be preserved, to attract new businesses, so that you and your families can continue to call Pueblo home for generations to come. This is not an empty promise. This is an accountable and transparent one. The people of Pueblo just renewed the half-cent sales tax in the fall of 2025 because you believe in investing in your future. As your mayor, I believe in being a good steward of your tax dollars and making good on your trust. We are taking the city in a new direction. City Council has already approved a significant change that will allow for incentives for new types of economic development projects, without abandoning our historic focus on the creation of primary jobs. This incredibly important update to our ordinance underscores the need for new vision and a comprehensive strategy to take our community forward. I recognize that change, particularly major policy overhauls, can be difficult, but I believe we all share the same ultimate goal, making Pueblo the best place in Colorado to live, work, and play. Our hardworking citizens deserve this. We cannot settle for anything else. This is Pueblo's future. Thank you all for being here today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them. Des?
Yeah, I have a question. Recently there was a meeting where they came to an settlement agreement with Petco. How is this going to affect that, or does this have anything to do with that settlement agreement?
Sure. So it did have a lot to do with the settlement agreement. So the city has been, as I stated, asking the Petco board to provide invoices, reports, how your dollars have been spent. The city got to the point where we are going to litigate. In lieu of litigation, the city was looking to take back the BTC. It passed through first reading. It was an agreement that Petco had stated that they would agree to. And earlier this week, they decided to pull that deal off the table, so it will be removed for second reading on Monday.
And what is the sales tax revenue being used for now? And is Petco receiving any funding at all? What is that look like?
Petco has not received funding since May of 2025 when they refused to provide invoicing to the city, reports to the city. They sent us reports that did not match financials that were being approved at their board. After 11 times, as I stated, they have still not provided the city with that information. So I believe that they are solely being funded by their membership dues. The half-cent sales tax at this time has about $64 million in there.
And we're in this shell building right now. What are the plans in the future for this shell building?
That's a great question. And so I have to tell you, when I was on city council, Petco came and presented this idea. I voted for this shell building to be built because at the time, Petco insisted that shell buildings were a need for our community and that if we build buildings, businesses will come. We are out here today because this building cost the taxpayers $6.1 million and it has been sitting vacant since it was completed. So about 3 years it has been sitting vacant. At this time, there are no plans that the city has for this shell building, and so it will continue to sit vacant until a prospect comes to town and needs 70,000 square feet in the industrial park.
Mayor Graham?
Yes.
I do apologize for asking a question outside of the economic development, but we're sure your office has started to receive calls over recent allegations against Cesar Chavez. What is your response, especially with this historical significance in the area and the boulevard in Pueblo?
Sure, because the sign is on a state highway, that's going to be up to the state legislators. The city has no oversight of what that looks like.
Thank you. Hey, Mayor.
Hi.
So, have any businesses taken advantage of the new half-cent sales tax incentives since City Council voted it in a couple weeks ago?
Sure. So last week we had our first committee meeting with a couple members of City Council, Finance Department, Law Department, Public Works, and myself, where we reviewed several applications submitted by companies to hope to be able to use the new proposed criteria for the ordinance.
Thanks for holding this press conference. But the question I would have is, of all the buildings that are extra that we have around town, do you know what the monthly or annualized monthly cost is for those buildings?
I'm not
To run them.
I'm not sure. I can tell you that the city has about 9 properties that were incentive related that the city either takes care of with the half-cent sales tax fund if they need to have maintenance done. A good example of that, Dave, would be the Pope Block building. So that was a failed economic development project. The city spends about $750,000 a year maintaining the Pope Block building.
Why is it important to change the process and our particular relationship with Pedco in order to move Pueblo into the future and make that Pueblo is open for business, clear and apparent for all developers?
Yeah, so I think it's important today for me to be here to have this press conference to make sure people know that the city is not contracting with Pedco and why we're not contracting with Pedco. So we haven't brought that to light over the last several months. I terminated their contract in October of last year, but as I stated, this relationship started to go south last May. And I think it really comes to the citizens want to know what their ROI is on this $250,000 that we're spending. What are we getting? Where are the businesses? Why haven't we seen economic growth, right? And so I think it's important that the community, the development community, prospects, near and far, know that the city is open for business, and we want your business. We want you in our community. We want you to bring jobs here. We want our citizens to have good jobs. And I think that over the last several years, it's been very stagnant. I think that most of the community members would agree that many, many years ago, Pedco did wonderful things for our community. But over the last several years, there's been no accountability, no transparency, and people want to know where their tax money is going.
What would you say to individuals who might think that, or rumor mill gets going, who might think that the ending of Pedco is kind of a way to stop or stall development in Pueblo?
Well, I would say that that's simply not true because we haven't seen development in the last several years. My office has been specifically working with developers coming in to our community. A lot of the development that you've seen on the boulevard, the Convergys housing project. Those are all being done in connection and correlation with offices within the city. So although they're not primary job attracting businesses coming, it's money, right? It's sales tax coming back into our coffers. It's people staying and growing in our community and bringing new businesses to our community. And I think that we needed a fresh start.
And piggybacking on that comment, what do you see the vision for Pueblo being in the future? And is it just continuing that commitment to trying to create primary jobs? Or what is your plan to how to use the sales tax revenue?
Sure. So recently, after 4 times, City Council passed an ordinance that I brought forward, which allows for those dollars to be used in 3 different ways. So placemaking, which can create amenities into our community. So maybe you're trying to draw developers with businesses here, and they want their employees to have places to go, people to see, places to eat, right? Maybe it's sales tax creation, so somebody that's an economic catalyst. So I know we hear a lot about Pueblo, we don't want to incentivize retail, right? Well, the half-cent sales tax is generated by retail in our community. So of course we want retail, of course we want Costco, of course we want Buc-ee's, we want everything, right? So we don't want to just limit it to primary jobs. And then the third action is going to be able to use it for economic leakage. So if people are driving up to Costco, or they're probably not driving to Buc-ee's from Pueblo, but maybe. If you're leaving our community to go elsewhere to get your goods and needs, we want to try to attain those businesses in our community so people shop here, spend your money here, and we can do public improvements, pay people good within our community.
And then you had briefly mentioned the struggle to get those businesses open on Pueblo Boulevard on the south side. What's kind of the status of some of those businesses?
Sure. So I'm sure you guys maybe noticed that the Starbucks did open last Monday the 9th. So it was supposed to open several months ago. This is where this idea originated of how we could use our tax dollars to pay for infrastructure to bring businesses. So, right? I'm not talking about giving Starbucks $5 million. I'm talking about putting in the wastewater improvements, sidewalks, traffic signals in order to open a Starbucks, and not just Starbucks, but all of the businesses that are going to be located on that I-20, on that highway or boulevard corridor. Anybody else? Oh, one more.
Will there be an allocation by council district for the money? Will it be other than the boulevard? Will there be money like say in Bessemer or on the east side?
Sure, if any of these businesses want to open in Bessemer or the east side, we've had several applications for the east side come in, which go back to placemaking or economic catalysts. We've already seen those, so it's not just the boulevard. It can be used anywhere within the city of Pueblo. So we encourage you to apply.
I know you mentioned Buc-ee's and Costco, those
Yeah.
big names.
Yeah.
How is this going to help support or strengthen the local mom and pop shops around here?
Sure. So if you're a small business and you can come to the city and you want to expand your small business and you are a primary employer, you are a large sales tax generator, you are a business that the city believes is valuable when it comes to placemaking in our community. The city will now be able to use its economic development funds in order to try to incentivize maybe business expansion or keeping your business going. So it can help small business, big business, any types of business coming into our community or that are already in our community.
And when it comes to new business applications, is there more of a priority towards local businesses, or is it kind of just equal and open opportunity?
It's equal and open. Previously, small businesses who were within the community, who were not primary employers, and were not shipping 50% of their product, or all of their product, I'm not really sure how that reads, it's kind of weird, outside of the community, you are not able to apply. We have added an additional criteria that now allows you to apply. Like, listen, this is city's money, right? This isn't Petco's money. This is your 0.5% that you every dollar that you spend in our community. It should stay here. It should help people within our community. It should help businesses within our community. That was the intent.
Hi again.
Hi.
So how can businesses apply for these dollars?
Sure. So you can go to pueblo.us, and that is why we have our lovely Advanced Pueblo sign. And you can reach out to Advanced Pueblo. There's a contact. One of my staff members will get back to you and help you through the application process as it stands now. This is what we have been doing internally with people that we have within my office, Public Works, Finance, the Law Department. We have been taking on this process since January 1 of this year. I don't know how that will continue. I don't know what that will look like in the future. City Council did put an RFQ out for proposals for applicants to apply to do economic development within our community, and no one at this point has been selected, nor has there been a process selected moving forward. Okay, great, thank you.